He leaped through time, fixing mistakes, hoping each leap would be his last. But behind the sci-fi brilliance, secrets were hidden that fans never suspected. Scripts were rewritten during filming. The star nearly quit multiple times. And one episode, it was banned for decades. These are 20 secrets about Quantum Leap hidden for years. And the bonus, a finale so controversial that NBC tried to bury it forever. Oh boy. Number 20. The show was rejected by every network before NBC. When Donald Bellisario pitched Quantum Leap, he'd already created successful shows like Magnum P.I. and Airwolf. Networks should have jumped at his new concept. Instead, they ran in the opposite direction. ABC passed immediately, calling the time travel premise too confusing for mainstream audiences. CBS executives said it was too expensive and too risky, requiring period costumes and sets for different eras every episode. Fox was interested briefly, but ultimately decided the show was too smart for their demographic. Network after network rejected Quantum Leap, unable to see its potential or unwilling to invest in something so ambitious. NBC was the last stop, and they were hesitant too. Executives worried the show's complexity would alienate casual viewers who wanted simple procedurals. The concept of a scientist leaping into different bodies throughout history, with only a hologram companion who couldn't physically interact with the world, seemed too weird, too cerebral. But NBC was desperate for quality programming and took a chance, ordering a limited first season with minimal promotion and a terrible time slot. They expected it to fail quietly. Instead, Quantum Leap became a critical darling, won Emmys, and developed a passionate cult following. The show networks didn't want became the show that redefined what science fiction television could be. Number 19. Scott Bakula was the fifth choice for Sam Beckett.
Lee, look, smile.
Scott Bakula wasn't the first, second, third, or even fourth choice to play Dr. Sam Beckett. Bellisario had a completely different vision initially, wanting an older, more traditionally heroic leading man. The role was offered to several established actors who all passed, finding the concept too strange or the time commitment too demanding. Michael Nouri was seriously considered but declined to pursue other projects. Jeff Bridges was approached and expressed interest before his film schedule made it impossible. Even Tim Matheson, who'd later guest star on the show, was offered the role and turned it down. By the time the offer reached Scott Bakula, he was relatively unknown, primarily a stage actor with minimal television experience. Bakula almost said no himself, uncertain about committing to a series with such a bizarre premise. But something about Sam Beckett resonated with him. The idealism, the kindness, the determination to make wrongs right. He accepted, and his audition showed Bellisario something he hadn't realized he needed: vulnerability. The previous candidates had brought strength and heroism, but Bakula brought humanity. He made Sam Beckett feel real, flawed, scared, but trying anyway. That quality transformed the show from a sci-fi gimmick into something profound. Had any of the other actors accepted, Quantum Leap would have been a completely different, likely lesser show. Sometimes the best casting happens by accident, after everyone else says no. Number 18. Dean Stockwell hated the hologram premise. At first, Dean Stockwell was a legendary actor with decades of experience when he was offered the role of Admiral Al Calavici, Sam's hologram observer from the future. He read the script and nearly walked away. The idea of playing a character who couldn't touch anything, couldn't be seen or heard by anyone except Sam, seemed like a creative dead end. How do you build a compelling character who's essentially a ghost, unable to affect the world around him? Stockwell thought it was a gimmick that would get old fast, reducing him to an exposition machine who just delivered information. He told Bellisario his concerns directly, saying he'd done too much in his career to play a special effect. Bellisario listened, then made a promise. Al wouldn't just be information delivery, he'd be Sam's conscience, humor, humanity, and connection to home. The hologram limitation would force creativity, making every interaction between Sam and Al precious because it was their only connection across time. Stockwell remained skeptical but trusted Bellisario enough to try. What changed his mind completely was working with Scott Bakula. Their chemistry was immediate and undeniable, creating a friendship that transcended the show's sci-fi premise. Stockwell realized the hologram limitation was actually liberating, forcing him to convey everything through dialogue and expression, rather than physical action. Al became one of television's most beloved characters, and Stockwell earned 4 Emmy nominations for a role he'd initially thought was impossible to make interesting. Number 17. Each episode's ending was filmed multiple ways.
Activate the accelerator chamber. Set it for June 15th, 1945.
Quantum Leap's signature moment, Sam leaping into a new body at the end of each episode, was never as simple as it appeared. The production filmed multiple versions of every leap, creating different possibilities for what came next. They'd shoot Sam leaping into a woman, a child, an elderly person, an athlete, and sometimes an animal, giving themselves options during post-production. This wasn't just creative flexibility, it was a survival strategy, because scripts for the next episode were often still being written when the previous episode's ending was filmed. The production needed to keep options open. Sometimes they'd commit to one leap, film the next episode, then change their minds and use a different leap ending, making the previous episode inconsistent with what actually followed. Continuity errors appeared frequently because filmed leaps didn't match what the next episode showed. Fans noticed Sam would leap into one person at the end of an episode, but the next episode would show him as someone completely different with no explanation. The production would sometimes go back and re-edit old episodes for syndication, changing leap endings to match what actually came next, but this created multiple versions of the same episodes existing simultaneously. This chaos was hidden from audiences who assumed each leap was carefully planned, part of a grand design. In reality, Quantum Leap was partially improvised week to week, with leap destinations chosen based on whatever script got finished first rather than long-term storytelling strategy. Number 16. The show's budget was impossibly small for period pieces.
My name is Dr. Ben Song.
I'm a time traveler.
I leap into other people to change history for the...
Quantum Leap's premise required recreating different time periods every single episode, from the 1950s through the 1980s. Each era needed accurate costumes, props, vehicles, and sets. This should have cost a fortune, requiring budgets comparable to period films. Instead, Quantum Leap operated on a shoestring budget that made authenticity nearly impossible. The production got creative out of desperation. They filmed extensively on the Universal Studios backlot, using the same few streets dressed differently for each era. That same small-town square appeared in dozens of episodes, representing different locations across America. Costume departments scoured thrift stores and rental houses for period clothing, often mixing pieces from different decades and hoping viewers wouldn't notice. Many period cars, visible in background shots, were actually modern vehicles with vintage-looking paint jobs, their contemporary features hidden by camera angles. Props were reused relentlessly, with the same telephones, furniture, and decorations appearing in episodes set years apart. Some episodes that were supposed to be set in different states were clearly filmed in the exact same locations with minimal redressing. The budget constraints forced writers to set many episodes in relatively modern periods, the 70s and 80s, where contemporary items could pass as period accurate. Episodes set in the 50s or 60s were rarer because they cost significantly more. Crew members performed miracles, making Quantum Leap look expensive on almost no money, but the cracks showed constantly to anyone paying attention. The show's heart and writing overcame production limitations, but it was never as polished as it deserved to be. Number 15. Scott Bakula performed his own stunts and nearly died.
Sympathizers? Perhaps you'd like to swing alongside your beloved Isaac!
Let it go.
Scott Bakula insisted on performing his own stunts whenever possible, believing physical authenticity was crucial for Sam Beckett's character. The production initially resisted, worried about their star getting injured, but Bakula's contract gave him significant input, and he used it to minimize stunt double usage. This decision led to multiple close calls that could have ended the show permanently. During a second season episode requiring Sam to leap from a moving train, Bakula performed the jump himself onto pads positioned beside the tracks. The train's speed was misjudged, and Bakula hit the pads at a dangerous angle, bruising ribs and nearly breaking his back. During another episode involving a warehouse fire, Bakula insisted on being in the actual burning building rather than using forced perspective trickery. Smoke inhalations sent him to the hospital, missing 2 days of filming. The most terrifying incident occurred during a fourth season episode where Sam leaped into a race car driver. Bakula insisted on driving the car during filming at a real racetrack. During one take, he lost control at high speed, spinning across the track and nearly hitting a wall. He walked away uninjured but visibly shaken, finally agreeing to use stunt drivers for extreme sequences. But he continued performing most physical actions himself throughout the series, sustaining numerous minor injuries that production kept quiet. His commitment elevated the show's authenticity, but the risks were genuine and constant. Number 14. The Lee Harvey Oswald episode almost got the show canceled.
Twist!
It's a pretty good demo, but I was just telling him I don't think it really has what it takes.
Season 5's two-part episode, where Sam leaps into Lee Harvey Oswald's days before Kennedy's assassination, was Quantum Leap's most ambitious and controversial story. It pushed boundaries, exploring whether Oswald acted alone, depicting the assassination's aftermath, and putting Sam inside the mind of America's most infamous assassin. NBC executives were terrified, fearing backlash from viewers, sponsors, and potentially political figures. They tried blocking the episode multiple times during production, but Belisario fought ferociously, arguing it was exactly the kind of important storytelling Quantum Leap existed to do. The network demanded script changes, softening certain implications and adding disclaimers. When the episode finally aired, the reaction was explosive. Conspiracy theorists loved it, seeing validation for their theories. Historians criticized it for taking liberties with documented facts. Some affiliates refused to air it, substituting reruns instead. Dozens of sponsors pulled their advertising, costing NBC significant revenue. The controversy generated enormous ratings, making it one of Quantum Leap's most watched episodes, but the network's relationship with Belisario suffered permanent damage. NBC executives felt he deliberately courted controversy against their wishes, while Belisario felt they'd tried censoring important art. This tension contributed to the show's cancellation the following season, with NBC deciding Quantum Leap was more trouble than it was worth despite solid ratings and critical acclaim. An episode meant to showcase the show's potential instead helped end it. Number 13. Dean Stockwell's costumes were his personal rebellion. Al Calavicci's outrageous wardrobe became iconic. Loud Hawaiian shirts, garish patterns, color combinations that defied logic. Viewers assumed the costumes were character choices made by wardrobe designers. They were actually Dean Stockwell's personal rebellion against the show's limitations. As a hologram, Stockwell couldn't interact physically with the environment or other actors besides Bakula. He felt creatively constrained, unable to use his full range of physical acting skills. So he decided if he couldn't interact with the world, he'd make damn sure everyone noticed him visually. Stockwell started bringing his own clothing to set, wild shirts and jackets from his personal collection that wardrobe departments would never have chosen. When costume designers tried providing more conservative options, Stockwell refused to wear them, insisting Al needed to be visually memorable since he couldn't be physically present. The more outrageous the outfit, the more Stockwell felt he was claiming space in scenes despite his character's limitations. Belisario loved it, recognizing that Al's fashion sense added humor and personality that balanced the show's serious themes. But network executives hated the costumes, calling them distracting and unprofessional. They pressured Stockwell to tone it down multiple times. He refused every time, and eventually they stopped asking. The costumes became Al's signature, a hologram demanding to be seen and remembered, despite existing in a form that couldn't touch the world around him. Number 12. The show was canceled without warning. Quantum Leap's cancellation remains one of television's cruelest moments. The show maintained solid ratings throughout Season 5, had won multiple Emmys, and enjoyed critical acclaim. Cast and crew expected renewal, with writers already planning Season 6 storylines. Then, in May 1993, without advance notice, NBC announced Quantum Leap was canceled. The decision shocked everyone involved. Belisario learned about it through a phone call, not a meeting. The cast found out from news reports before receiving official notification. They'd just wrapped what they thought was a season finale, not a series finale, leaving Sam trapped in the past without resolution. The cancellation's timing was particularly cruel because they'd filmed the season's final episode weeks earlier, preventing any possibility of creating proper closure. Belisario frantically lobbied NBC for a final episode to wrap up the story, offering to film it cheaply, quickly, anything to give fans and the show a proper ending. NBC refused, unwilling to spend money on a canceled series. Eventually, Belisario got permission to add text to the final episode's ending, creating the now famous epilogue revealing Sam never returned home. That text was written, added, and broadcast within days, a rushed attempt to provide minimal closure to a show that deserved so much better. The cancellation created lasting bitterness, with Belisario and cast members feeling betrayed by a network that had never fully supported or appreciated what Quantum Leap achieved. Number 11. Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell's friendship saved the show.
What did she say to you that time in the bunker?
She said she'd sell her soul for a Pulitzer.
Not just her soul.
During the difficult second season, Quantum Leap faced potential cancellation due to rising production costs and inconsistent ratings. Network pressure intensified, demanding faster filming schedules and budget cuts that compromised quality. The stress fractured the production, with Belisario fighting executives while the cast and crew struggled under impossible demands. Scott Bakula was ready to walk away, exhausted from the physical demands and frustrated by constant network interference. Then Dean Stockwell intervened, not as Al Calavici, but as a veteran actor who'd survived Hollywood's ups and downs for decades. He pulled Bakula aside and shared his perspective. They were making something special, something that mattered more than ratings or network politics. Stockwell reminded Bakula that jobs like this, shows with heart and intelligence, were rare and worth fighting for. He promised that if Bakula stayed, they'd support each other through whatever came next, finding joy in the work regardless of external chaos. That conversation changed everything. Bakula recommitted, and the two actors became genuine friends off camera, their bond strengthening the on-screen relationship between Sam and Al. Their friendship created stability that held the production together through subsequent crises, budget cuts, schedule crunches, and network battles. Cast members later said Bakula and Stockwell's relationship was Quantum Leap's foundation, the real partnership that made everything else possible. Without that friendship, the show would have collapsed under pressure long before reaching its 5th season. Number 10. The mirror gag required extensive planning. Every episode.
Wait! Knock it off!
Quantum Leap's signature visual, Sam looking in a mirror and seeing the person he'd leaped into rather than his own reflection, appeared effortless on screen. Behind the scenes, it was a technical nightmare requiring extensive preparation and perfect execution. Each mirror scene required the guest actor to precisely mimic Scott Bakula's movements in real time while Bakula performed the scene. They'd rehearse for hours, practicing every head tilt, hand gesture, and facial expression until the movements synchronized perfectly. The slightest discrepancy would shatter the illusion, revealing the trick. Cameras had to be positioned at exact angles to hide the edges of the mirror effect, with lighting carefully balanced to make the reflection look natural. Early episodes used actual mirrors with the guest actor standing behind them, but this proved too limiting. Later seasons used green screen technology, filming Bakula and the guest actor separately, then compositing them in post-production, but this was expensive and time-consuming. Some episodes required multiple mirror scenes, multiplying the complexity and eating up production hours. Guest actors dreaded mirror scenes, knowing they'd spend entire days just matching movements rather than actually acting. A few refused to do them, forcing rewrites to eliminate mirror reveals. The mirror gag became so identified with Quantum Leap that eliminating it was unthinkable, but it remained one of the show's most demanding technical requirements, a visual signature that cost far more time and effort than audiences ever realized. Number 9. The Ziggy supercomputer voice changed without explanation. Ziggy, the artificial intelligence that controlled the Quantum Leap project, was voiced by different actors throughout the series with no in-universe explanation. The original voice was provided by an uncredited male actor who gave Ziggy a computerized, authoritative tone during Season 1. Then, suddenly in Season 2, Ziggy became female, voiced by Deborah Pratt, who was also the show's co-executive producer and Belisario's wife. The change was jarring for viewers who'd grown accustomed to the original voice, but the production never acknowledged it, acting as if Ziggy had always sounded this way. Behind the scenes, the change resulted from creative disagreements. Belisario wanted Ziggy to have more personality, believing a female voice would make the AI feel more nurturing and maternal towards Sam. The original voice actor was simply replaced without warning or explanation. Later seasons occasionally featured Ziggy with different vocal characteristics, sometimes sounding more robotic, other times almost human, depending on who was available for recording sessions. The inconsistency bothered fans who paid close attention, creating theories about why Ziggy's voice changed. Some believed it indicated timeline alterations or glitches in the quantum leap process. The real explanation was more mundane. Production convenience and creative whims trumped continuity. Another continuity example of Quantum Leap's fly-by-night approach to details that should have been carefully maintained. Number 8. Multiple episodes were banned and never aired. In some markets, Quantum Leap tackled controversial subjects that made networks and local affiliates uncomfortable, resulting in several episodes being banned or heavily edited in certain markets. The episode dealing with rape and its aftermath was refused by multiple Southern affiliates who deemed it too disturbing for family viewing. Another episode featuring Sam leaping into a gay man facing discrimination was banned by religious broadcasters and several conservative markets, denying viewers in those areas access to what became one of the show's most acclaimed hours. An episode addressing the Vietnam War and PTSD was pulled in some military communities after complaints from veterans groups. The production fought these bans unsuccessfully, arguing that Quantum Leap's purpose was addressing difficult subjects with sensitivity and intelligence. But local affiliates had final say over what aired in their markets, and many chose to substitute reruns rather than broadcast controversial episodes. This created a strange situation where the Quantum Leap viewing experience varied dramatically by geography. Viewers in progressive urban areas saw every episode, while those in conservative regions had gaps in the story, missing crucial character development and important social commentary. The banned episodes became legendary among fans, shared through underground tape trading networks before the internet made them accessible. But the bans achieved their goal, preventing potentially challenging ideas from reaching audiences networks deemed unprepared or unwilling to confront them. Number 7. Scott Bakula sang Live in every musical episode.
Living for today.
Boy.
My boyfriend's back and you're gonna be in trouble.
Quantum Leap featured several episodes requiring Sam to sing, from performing in a piano bar to fronting a rock band. Scott Bakula, who had extensive musical theater experience from his stage career, insisted on performing all vocals live during filming rather than lip-syncing to pre-recorded tracks. This was unusual and risky, as live singing during filming could create audio problems and require multiple takes if performances weren't perfect. But Bakula believed lip-syncing looked fake, lacking the authentic emotion and energy of live performance. So every musical moment was performed live, with Bakula singing while cameras rolled and boom mics captured everything in real time. The decision created challenges for sound departments who had to balance music, dialogue, and ambient noise simultaneously. But it also created magical moments where Bakula's genuine talent elevated episodes beyond typical television. His performance of Georgia on My Mind in one episode was so powerful that the crew gave him a standing ovation after filming wrapped. The musical episodes showcased abilities most television audiences never knew Bakula possessed, revealing a performer capable of far more than the dramatic acting Quantum Leap typically required. These episodes became fan favorites precisely because of their authenticity. Bakula's real voice and real emotion cutting through television's typical artificiality to create something genuinely moving and memorable. Number 6. The show's science advisor quit over inaccuracies. Quantum Leap hired a legitimate quantum physicist as science advisor to ensure the show's theoretical framework remained plausible and consistent. Dr. John Gribben, a respected physicist and science writer, took the job, excited to bring accurate science to mainstream television. He lasted less than one season before quitting in frustration. The problem wasn't that Quantum Leap ignored science entirely, but that it cherry-picked convenient elements while abandoning logic whenever plots required. Gribben would explain why certain leaps were impossible based on the show's established rules, only to watch writers ignore him and do it anyway. He'd propose scientifically interesting complications that could create drama, but producers dismissed them as too confusing for audiences. The final straw came when the show introduced the Evil Leaper, another time traveler working against Sam. Gribben explained this violated every principle the show had established about quantum mechanics and time travel, making previous explanations meaningless. Writers didn't care. believing the dramatic potential outweighed scientific consistency. Gribben resigned, feeling his presence gave false credibility to pseudoscience. After his departure, the show abandoned even the pretense of scientific accuracy, having characters spout technobabble that sounded impressive but meant nothing. Ironically, this liberated writers to tell better stories, freed from constraints of consistency. But it confirmed what Gribben suspected. Quantum Leap was never really about science, just a framework for character-driven drama wearing a science fiction costume. Number 5. Dean Stockwell was drunk. During several important scenes,
Feel better? No. No, I don't feel better.
Dean Stockwell struggled with alcoholism throughout Quantum Leap's run, a battle he'd fought for decades with varying success. During particularly stressful production periods, his drinking intensified, sometimes affecting his performance. Several important scenes were filmed with Stockwell visibly impaired, slurring words, or struggling to hit marks. Editors worked overtime covering for him, using alternate takes, tightening edits, and employing tricks to hide obvious intoxication. Scott Bakula became adept at supporting Stockwell during these episodes, both literally and figuratively, helping him through scenes and covering for mistakes. The cast and crew protected Stockwell, understanding he was battling demons while delivering consistently brilliant work when sober. One particularly emotional scene between Sam and Al, where Al breaks down discussing his missing wife, was filmed during one of Stockwell's difficult periods. His raw emotion in that scene wasn't entirely acting, but genuine pain bleeding through. Ironically, it became one of the series' most powerful moments. Stockwell's real struggle adding authenticity that purely technical performance couldn't achieve. Stockwell eventually got sober and remained so for the rest of his life, later speaking openly about his alcoholism and how the Quantum Leap family supported him through his darkest period. But during production, his drinking was an open secret everyone worked around, protecting a brilliant actor from himself while he fought for control. Number 4. The show's writer's room was chaos.
I didn't hurt him. She just thought I hurt him.
Yeah, I know, but you just...
Quantum Leap's writing process was notoriously dysfunctional, with scripts often unfinished when filming began. The show's anthology format meant every episode required completely different research, settings, and character dynamics, making the writing workload crushing. Writers worked around the clock trying to stay ahead of production, but frequently failed, delivering partial scripts that directors had to film while waiting for the remaining pages. Donald Bellisario's management style contributed to chaos. He'd read finished scripts, decide he hated them, and demand complete rewrites days before filming. Sometimes he'd rewrite scripts himself overnight, delivering new versions that contradicted what had already been filmed, forcing continuity nightmares. The writer's room had massive turnover, with talented writers quitting after single seasons, burned out by impossible deadlines and constant script changes. Some episodes were written by 5 or more different writers, as Bellisario kept bringing in new people to fix problems he'd created. This instability meant Quantum Leap lacked the consistent voice that made other shows feel cohesive. Episodes varied wildly in tone and quality depending on who'd written them and how much time they'd had. Some were brilliant, thoughtful explorations of history and humanity. Others felt rushed and incoherent, stories that barely made sense because they'd been assembled from fragments written by different people. The miracle is that Quantum Leap maintained any quality at all, given the chaos behind every episode. Number 3. NBC tried forcing a romance between Sam and Al's daughter.
What did she say to you that time in the bunker?
She said she'd sell her soul for a Pulitzer.
Not just your soul.
Sympathizers? Perhaps you'd like to swing alongside your beloved Isaac.
Let it go.
During Season 4, NBC executives pushed for a romantic storyline between Sam and Beth, Al's wife, who was still waiting for him in the past. The network believed adding conventional romance would boost ratings among female viewers. Bellisario resisted, arguing it would destroy the show's emotional foundation and betray Al's character. But network pressure intensified, with executives threatening to cancel the show unless it became more accessible. A compromise was reached. They'd introduce Al's daughter as a potential love interest for Sam in future timelines. The idea was that during leaps to the 90s or beyond, Sam could encounter an adult version of Al's daughter and develop feelings, creating romantic tension without betraying Al's marriage. Scripts were written, exploring this possibility, with casting already underway for the daughter character. Then Scott Bakula put his foot down. He told Belisario that romantic subplots weren't why people watched Quantum Leap, that the show's heart was Sam and Al's friendship and Sam's mission to help people. Adding forced romance would cheapen everything they'd built. Bakula threatened to quit if the storyline proceeded, using his leverage as the irreplaceable star. Belisario backed him, returning to NBC with Bakula's ultimatum. The network caved, dropping the romance requirement. But the relationship between Belisario and NBC soured further, contributing to the show's eventual cancellation. Sometimes protecting artistic integrity costs everything. Number 2. The series finale's epilogue was added at the last minute.
Smile tenderly, still in.
The final episode of Quantum Leap Mirror Image ended ambiguously with Sam encountering a mysterious bartender who might be God, fate, or time itself. Originally, the episode ended with Sam making the choice to continue leaping, helping people throughout history. Then the screen faded to black with no additional information about his fate. Test audiences hated it, demanding to know if Sam ever got home. NBC demanded changes, but there was no time or budget to film new scenes. So Belisario wrote the famous text epilogue, revealing that Sam never returned home, continuing to leap through time helping people. The epilogue was added days before broadcast, typed on a computer, and overlaid on existing footage. It wasn't planned, wasn't discussed with the cast, just a desperate last-minute decision to provide closure. When Scott Bakula saw the finale with the epilogue, he was devastated. The ending meant Sam's journey had no happy resolution, that his sacrifice was permanent and he'd never see his own life again. Bakula felt betrayed, believing the epilogue was unnecessarily dark and contradicted the show's hopeful spirit. He argued unsuccessfully for changing it, but there was no time. The epilogue aired, becoming one of television's most debated endings. Fans remain divided decades later about whether it was profound or cruel, perfect or devastating, the ending of Quantum Leap deserved, or a tragedy that destroyed everything Sam fought for. Number 1. A revival was planned for decades and always collapsed. Since Quantum Leap ended in 1993, there have been countless attempts to revive it through movies, limited series, or continuation shows. Every few years, rumors would surface about Belisario writing a script or networks expressing interest. Scott Bakula repeatedly said he'd return as Sam Beckett if the story was right. Dean Stockwell remained interested until his death in 2021, but every attempt collapsed for various reasons. Some failed due to rights issues, with different companies owning different aspects of the franchise. Others died because Belisario's vision clashed with network demands for modernization. Several scripts were written showing an older Sam still leaping, trying desperately to find his way home. But networks wanted younger casts and reboots rather than continuations. The closest attempt came in 2010 when a script was commissioned showing Sam's daughter searching for her father through time. It got to the casting stage before collapsing over budget concerns. In 2022, NBC finally produced a Quantum Leap revival, but without Belisario's involvement and with only tangential connections to the original. The new show features different characters and different mythology, essentially using the Quantum Leap name for brand recognition rather than true continuation. Original fans largely rejected it, waiting still for the real revival that brings Sam home, a conclusion that seems increasingly impossible as years pass and opportunities fade. Quantum Leap changed science fiction television, proving shows could be smart, emotional, and adventurous simultaneously. Behind the brilliance lived chaos, budget struggles, and battles to protect integrity against network interference. Sam Beckett never made it home, but the show found its way into hearts forever, a journey worth taking despite never reaching the destination.